On October 26, 2010, Undead Nightmare arrived to Red Dead Redemption on the 360 as well as the PlayStation 3. Later, it was backwards compatible on the Xbox One. So today, in my thoughts video, I'm going to talk about my thoughts regarding the 10-year anniversary of Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare. Yes, it officially came out 10 years ago, October 26th. Considered by many to be one of the best standalone story DLCs of all time. I realize over the past 10 years, there have been some competitors that have come, and it may not be the best to some, but to me personally, it's easily in the top 3 or the top 5. It is amazing. And this comes from a guy who doesn't really care for zombies in video games, TV shows, or movies, but Rockstar did zombies right in Undead Nightmare. A great standalone, kind of like an Elseworld story to Red Dead Redemption 1. The locations was basically the map of Red Dead Redemption 1, including the Great Plains, Tall Trees, Blackwater, New Austin, which is also Thieves Landing, McFarland Ranch, Armadillo, Tumbleweed, elsewhere, including south of the San Luis and Nuevo Paraiso in Mexico. Like I said, mostly it was the map of Red Dead Redemption 1 that served as the map of Undead Nightmare. And it included several different types of undead. You had the low-level ones, your typical zombies that are just walking around looking for brains. The fresh undead. Then you had the fast ones, the ones that are really fast and dangerous. The bolters. And then you had the brutes, the big boys, the big girls, which were known as the bruisers. And then you had this fourth class of undead called the Reachers. They're the ones that would spit at you, green slimy stuff, probably acid. And once you killed them, you had to make sure you were far enough away from Reachers because they would explode said acid all over your face. The variety of the undead made the game of Undead Nightmare even more interesting, more complex, more strategy. Plus, you had to go and you had to cleanse the towns and various graveyard cemeteries. You had to go to Blackwater, you had to go to Manzanilla Post, McFarland Ranch, Tumbleweed, all the way down to different parts of Mexico in order to keep those towns safe from the undead. But as a replay feature to Undead Nightmare, over time, these towns that you liberated, these locations, would become reinfected again. I guess that was added to give players a reason to keep going back into Undead Nightmare and playing it. Eventually, you would have parts of Nuevo Paraiso being played once more, just like in New Austin, as well as West Elizabeth. Along with the undead, there were also undead animals. More or less, some of them were harmless, like the bats, the goats, the bulls, horses. But there were some undead predators that would try to make a meal out of you, including the undead bear, undead boar, undead cougars, undead coyotes. I think there's also undead wolves, if I'm not mistaken. But there were also mythical animals that they added to Undead Nightmare as well, including a side mission involving the Sasquatch, the legendary Chupacabra wandering down in Mexico somewhere. As you may or may not have noticed, there is a unicorn in Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare, but there's more. 4 horses of the apocalypse, each one with unique abilities and strengths and weaknesses. War, which has the power of flame to set the undead ablaze. Death, which could instant kill the undead upon touching, as well as the other 2 horses, Pestilence and Famine. You also had a variety of weapons in Undead Nightmare. The blunderbuss torch, which was a lot of fun when you would get up and close and personal with one of the undead. John would just simply stab the undead in the head. I never got tired of that animation or him blasting the undead with one of his guns, including the blunderbuss. Other weapons included throwables like holy water as well as undead and boom bait. Along with the main story, which was roughly about 6+ hours, John going throughout the lands of Red Dead Redemption 1, clearing areas of zombies, trying to get to the bottom of what was behind the undead uprising, as well as interacting with characters you met from Red Dead Redemption 1, as well as a variety of dynamics, saving people from zombies, having to put people down that were sick because they had become infected, and helping individuals out there on the frontier, holding off waves of the undead, trying to make a meal out of their brains. Along with the dynamics, there was also a missing person side quest you could get at Fort Mercer, which would send you out there on the hunt to try to save people from the undead and bring them safely back to Fort Mercer. There was a few new outfits that were added courtesy of Undead Nightmare, along with some content for Red Dead Redemption multiplayer, including 8 undead playable characters you could run around as in Red Dead Redemption multiplayer, 2 game modes, land grab, as well as one of my favorites, Undead Overrun, which is basically a survival undead mode. You and some friends in Red Dead Redemption multiplayer going up against the undead, the fresh, the bolters, the bruisers, the reachers, having to take them on wave after wave after wave. That's a great idea, Rockstar. I think you should come up with a mode like that for Red Dead Online. I'm just saying. Fine. Ignore the fact that you created an awesome story DLC with great undead varieties and classes 10 years ago, and don't implement that into your online game. Instead, just reskin some enemy zombies and make them look like zombies, even though they're shooting guns and bows and arrows at you. And you don't have to kill them with a headshot. You could just shoot them in their leg or in their lower mass. That's fine, Rockstar. But anyways, back on topic. My thoughts regarding Undead Nightmare. I absolutely loved playing this when it first came out nearly 10 years ago. Actually, 10 years ago at the posting of this video. And I've gone back and replayed it several times since. In fact, a year ago, I streamed it start to finish. If you're interested in watching me play through Undead Nightmare, good news, I already did it like a year ago. Feel free and go back and watch part 1, 2, and 3 of my Red Dead Redemption Undead Nightmare playthrough, which I did, by the way, on my Xbox One X. So it's probably the best quality you can expect when it comes to a 10-year-old game. It still holds up. Graphically, it's not as good looking or beautiful as Red Dead Redemption 2 or Red Dead Online, but for a game that came out in 2010, it's still a very fun story DLC to play. And it's unfortunate that Rockstar has since gone towards their online games, making DLC for Grand Theft Auto Online as well as Red Dead Online. It would be nice if they also were considerate to their single-player games. I would have loved some story mode DLC for Grand Theft Auto 5, which was scrapped, by the way, as well as story mode DLC for Red Dead Redemption 2. Sadly, I don't see either happening, but Undead Nightmare reminds me of a time when Rockstar actually did make awesome story DLC for their games. And it was just a fantastic experience. It actually gave you a feel of desperation, looting bodies after you'd shot and killed them, trying to find some ammo, because basically ammo was the currency in the game. And John was so desperate to get one bullet or a couple of bullets in order to take out these undead mobs that were heading right towards him. And you actually had to shoot these creatures in the head. Or if you wanted to get close with that torch and pop them in the head, you could do that as well. But it served as an act of desperation, trying to make sure that every single shot that John Marston took on the undead, whether it was the fresh undead, the bolters, bruisers, reachers coming towards him, making sure that every single shot he took counted. In my case, a lot of times it was more misses than hits, which is a good thing. I was always on a horse, like war or death, and I had that trusty torch in my side to stab them right in their head. But at the same time, it did present a challenge for players when it came to John Marston versus the undead in Undead Nightmare, as well as all the other fun activities that you could do playing that story DLC. Roughly 6+ hours and change was the length of Undead Nightmare. Still, in my opinion, 10 years later, one of the best story DLCs ever made. It's easily in my top 5, top 3 list, even 10 years later. Plus a spectacular addition to Halloween week from 2010 all the way up to 2020 and beyond. Anyways, that's my thoughts, my views, and opinions regarding Undead Nightmare. I would absolutely love for Rockstar to make an Undead Nightmare 2 for Red Dead Redemption 2, or at the very least pay homage to Undead Nightmare in Red Dead Online properly with actual undead and not reskinned enemy NPCs that just happen to look like zombies. Yeah, Rockstar, I'm talking to you, if you're actually listening. Probably not. But anyways, for those of you that did take the time to watch this video and all my thoughts videos, rant videos, idea videos, and live streams, I greatly appreciate each and every one of you. I hope you all have a happy Halloween. And for those of you that also played Undead Nightmare, whether recently or 10 years ago or somewhere in the middle, your thoughts, your views, your opinions, your favorite moments from Undead Nightmare, as always, welcome below in the comment section.